Hello friends. So we're getting ready to go to the Channel Islands. We're very excited about it. We've been working hard on the boat and we want to walk you guys through a bunch of the upgrades and refit stuff we've done in the last couple months and that we're going to be test driving on this trip. Wanted to show you everything before we start loading it up with gear while you can still see the boat. So the first big thing we did that we're very excited about trying out for this trip is our full solar setup. So we have 250 watts of solar. We have two 100 watt panels. We have them on these articulating armatures. So you can point them up and down towards the sun, and then you can lay them flat while you're underway. You can also ride them like this when you're underway up, but you can lay them flat like that to point to the sun and stow them for, you know, if the winds get up. And our last trip really showed me that solar was one of the first things we needed to address. I think we were under anchor for about 5 days and got our batteries down to about 60%, and we had no way to recharge them other than the motor. And then we even motoring on the last trip from Cat Harbor to the isthmus around the front, to two harbors, the motoring for 3 hours only brought our batteries up to 70%. So after that trip I was like, okay, and we're pretty good about our electronics diet, we don't have a lot of draw, but obviously there's enough that it brought our batteries down, and we use AGMs, so we can't bring them down to zero. So this was a very, very, very important upgrade. And as I said, we have 250 watts, so 100 watts here, 100 watts here, and then we have 50 watts on our new companionway turtle hatch cover. Let's check it out.
Turtle.
So here's our little turtle that I modified from a junk boat to fit our boat. Made this nice frame to hold. This is a little 50 watt panel, and this is the only one that's flexible. The other two are rigid, which are much better. As far as the rigid panels do far better performance wise, but this gives us 250 watts, and we'll see how that does to keep us topped up. All my tests here at the dock have been incredible, but we're going to be at the Channel Islands for roughly 10 days, so it's going to be a real testament to, you know, how well this all works. And then later on we can upgrade the size of these aft panels. We have enough room to get larger panels later on, but I think that this is going to be great for us for the time being. Another big fun upgrade that we did was our new lifelines. So we installed all Dyneema lifelines. Okay, so we installed all Dyneema lifelines, and we did 2 sets, which is amazing because before we only had a top set of lifelines. I handmade these dead eyes out of teak, and we're using 1/4" Dyneema, and I'm excited to see how it does. So yeah, we're excited about the new Dyneema lifelines. It feels a lot better. We're gonna watch the chafe on this trip and see, but what they say is like this stuff should last 5 to 7 years versus the steel stuff, which lasts about 10 years. But I would much rather have this as something I'm grabbing onto and there's no corrosion involved, rather than the bare 1x19 steel cable, which is recommended now, because the old way was like a plastic covered steel cable, and that hit a lot of corrosion and became kind of deadly. With this, if there are points of chafe, you can see it at least and address it. And then we adjust the tension with this dead eye. So we're stoked about that. And we got 2 here. We are going to be adding a net eventually for the pup, but for this trip we can't take Steady with us anyway, unfortunately. This is his first trip not going with us in a while, because there's no dogs allowed on the Channel Islands. So he's going to be staying with his Uncle Colby and Bailey, his cousin, and they're going to be playing in Riverside, California, while me and Camille head out to the wilds of the Channel Islands. So now let's go down below and we'll show you what's happening down there. Okay, so I'll show you guys the inside of the boat while it's nice and clean and not overwhelmed with tons of gear for the trip. The biggest thing that we've been working on this entire year, which has been a massive undertaking, and was like halfway done when we did our 4th of July trip, was we have enclosed the head. And the main thing with that was we put a compression post under the mast. I filmed a lot of that, but not all of it, because it was such a drawn out process. So I may at some point put together a little video and just put it up on Patreon where anyone that wants to go check it out can, but I'm not sure how that video would turn out, just because it was like a 7 or 8 month process of doing this. But we have a compression post under the mast, which eliminates the problem with Alberg 30s. This deck beam here will delaminate, and that's like the main 2 points of failure, like weak points on these boats, is undersized chain plate bolts and the delamination of that beam. So the like later models of Alberg 30s have like an aluminum beam in place of that or on top of it. But this being a 1965 hull number 55, very early model, it only has the wooden beam. So our solution was we put in a compression post and we jogged our pass-through forward to the V-berth over, similar to the way it would be on a tartan or any boat with like a keel step mast. And what this did was allowed us to enclose the head, which is amazing, because then we can try to contain the smell. And the other big thing in that whole process, we built a 28-gallon holding tank under the V-berth, all glassed in to the hull. So that was a big upgrade. And then all new plumbing, and with the enclosed head. What was the big thing that you asked for? What was the only thing you've ever asked for on the boat?
The only thing I ever asked for, and now I have, is a hot shower.
Hot shower. So, check it out. So this is our new custom, called a wet head. So the entire floor is a shower pan. And we still have to do make a custom covering there, but that can all get done. Here's our shower nozzle. So hot water, here's our access hole, and that's our manual black water pump over. So we got rid of our macerator pump and we installed this manual pump. And I like to eliminate electronics as much as possible on a boat, so I like to get rid of as many electrical aspects of a boat as I can. And while it's funny, even though we eliminated the macerator pump, the shower required us to install like a water pump for the water pressure, and a accumulator tank which holds the pressure, keeps the pump from cycling on and off, and a shower sump which pumps the shower water overboard. You want to turn the water pressure on?
No, I was gonna.
That's how it's gonna be, just like that. Nice hot water.
She's small, but she's hot.
Right? Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. We got a little mirror. Now, one of the great benefits of us installing a wet head is that our boat is very small. We only have 21 inches of cabin sole, so there's not a lot of place to put wet gear. So like if we're in like really bad weather and we have our like foul weather gear on and we come down below, the only option before would be leave it out in the rain, which sucks. So now we can get through here quickly and hang it into the wet head and let it drip dry, which is going to be a huge benefit. It'll be nice to have hot water to be able to warm up when it's cold after a dive. We also installed a hot water shower in the cockpit based on our good friend John Conway's suggestion. He said on Felurian they use that more than they use a regular shower, and it wasn't much more difficult to go ahead and install that while we were installing this setup.
You've become like a real plumbing wizard.
Yeah, it was a lot of trial and error. And the other problem we ran into, and actually the hot water shower isn't complete in the cockpit, isn't completely hooked up yet, because there's a Shields hose shortage. Because of the pandemic, it's been really hard to get the correct plumbing hose. So that a lot of this took a long time because we just couldn't find that. It was nationally, you couldn't get any of the correct hose. So, you know, a lot of us have hose shortage in our life, but we got to sort it out on this one. So, yeah, we're stoked about that whole setup. And we also, new hanging locker. I did all this trim. This was all originally different parts of the original fixture of the boat, and then I sanded them down and then recut them and everything so that we have this nice post here, and then new hanging locker that's a little bit more shallow than it was, but it's going to be great.
I think it's better actually, because things were just getting lost. It was so deep. You'd have to. It was like a bear cave.
That's true. It was very hard to get to in the back. I do think that we'll see after this trip, but I think that I'm going to make our shelf faces a little higher because I'm not sure how they'll hang in there. But we're going to put some kind of like rope or something across here so that stuff can't swing out. But this is all stuff we're going to be able to find out what we really want to dial in on this trip. What else did we do? We can look forward because I'm not sure that we talked about that on the last video. So I haven't finished everything in the V-berth yet. There's a little bit of detail stuff I have to do, but one of the things we had done before the last trip that we never addressed is we made this nice cover to cover the anchor locker. We also installed these nice lights. I installed a USB charger for Camille on her side, and we put these slats in and insulated everything behind it with radiant barrier insulation. So that's going to help keep this cool and warm. And yeah, so we're ready to start loading gear up. So one thing I forgot to mention about the head was that we installed a water heater, obviously for hot water in the shower, and it runs on two sources. It runs one on hydronic heating, which takes the hot coolant from the engine, cycles it through the water tank, heats the water, and then returns it to the engine to keep cooling the engine. So anytime you're motoring, your water is being heated for free, you know, with no extra energy taken whatsoever. The other way you can heat water in that water tank is through an AC, through the AC switch. So when we're on shore power at a marina, and we can flip this switch right here. This is water heater. And within 15 minutes, we have water that will burn your skin off, which is awesome. Oh, that's the other thing we did that we're test driving, is we had looked into our forward water tank, and it was completely like failed in many places. We'd always had a leak. We couldn't quite figure out what was happening. And while I was investigating that, I discovered that the water tank was like beyond hope. So we got a Plastimo water bladder that we installed in the space of our old water tank. So we cut a couple of access holes, got the tank in there, secured it with tie downs, and that's a 31-gallon water bladder, and we're going to test drive that. And this is the first time we'll have been able to drink our tank water, because we always knew that tank was foul, so we never drank it. We just used it for cleaning and stuff. So now we have, you know, drinkable water, and that's the same water that goes to the shower and everything. So we're still going to bring a ton of like bottled water, because we like to have lots of extra water, even on a trip that's only 10 days and it's close to shore. But it'll be a good test to see how quickly we tap out that water bladder and its size comparison versus how quickly we used to tap out our old forward water tank. One of the next big projects we're going to be doing on the boat in like the beginning of the year is cutting the cabin sole out and putting in a giant 65-gallon water tank in the bilge, all glassed into the hull. So that's the next huge project. But for now, we're going to be happy with everything we did. We're going to go on this trip, and looking forward to some amazing adventures, some diving, and exploring a bunch of really wild islands that we plan on hitting all of the islands there. Santa Rosa, San Miguel, Santa Cruz, and Anacapa. Camille's never been there at all. And if you've been with my channel a long time, you'll know that Santa Cruz was the first place I went by myself. I did the solo trip for 9 days there, right after I got the boat. So I'm very excited to get back to the Channel Islands and get some adventuring in. We plan on leaving tomorrow night, yeah, just want to walk you guys through all these crazy upgrades we did and take you guys along for the ride and show you what we see. Thanks for watching the video. Now it's time for me to scrub the bottom and get this boat in tip-top shape, ready to push off. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe so you see all the adventures coming up to the Channel Islands. And thanks so much to our patrons. Our Patreon crew keeps us afloat in this wild time. And yeah, we can't wait to share this with you guys. So, fair winds until next time.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. It helps us a lot.
Thanks again to all of our patrons. Your contributions help us get the boat ready for big things.
Until next time.